It's the Billy Revolution. It's up to you. Billy Revolution. Here's what you gotta do. The Billy Revolution. A quadrilateral grow. Under your chin, not in the center though. Cause it's the Billy Revolution. It's the Billy Revolution. It's the Billy Revolution. Billy Revolution. Welcome to episode 3 of the Billy Revolution. You see I've got the clock behind me. I'm in a hurry. I don't want to waste your time. This week's show is about time deficit anxiety. And time deficit anxiety is a term I named when I realized that so many of us create anxiety around a sense of there being insufficient time to do things. And I think that, once a culture becomes focused on the lack of time, what we end up with is we end up with all sorts of problems. One of the big problems of time deficit anxiety is that the now becomes the conduit to the future. So now the present doesn't have any validity because it's the conduit for us thinking about the future. So in the now, we spend our time thinking about the future. And the reason that is a problem is that, and that's why the word anxiety is there, right? Anxiety not being the positive thing that so many people like to think of it as. The anxiety is what is making people stress, making people fuss, and so there are some reasons why this is the case, and there's some ways that we go about speaking with one another, similar to the deal. I only paid 30 cents for this, and I think one of the things we end up talking about a lot is busyness. And busyness, I think, at some point became equated with importance. So the busier I am, the more important I am. And the problem with that idea, well, there's a number of problems with that idea, but one of the things is that we end up being very proud of doing, and we forget about being, existing, just the passive verbs of existence, is. Rather than playing outside or running to the store. And I think that one of the drawbacks of this busyness and losing track of being is that it leads to a lot of distraction. It will be its own episode in the next little while if I don't get distracted from it. But what that means is that distraction from now. Distraction from what am I doing right now? My breathing, my enjoyment of the sensory, my thoughts, all those things we get distracted from. And we get on the treadmill and we are looking for confirmation of our busyness and our importance from others. And it just becomes a cycle that's going to lead to burnout and very little enjoyment. Now is continually being reborn, and if always in the now we are anxious about the future, which will become now soon, then I think that has a paralyzing effect on our ability to look at some key important things about life, like how do we become more fully human, how do we become more fully alive, how do we learn to be more appreciative, learn to be more giving. And I think another thing about time deficit anxiety that's important to think about is that it also keeps us in a constant state of hoping for something, so that my satisfaction is always something that's going to happen in the future. Oh, check the clock, as I know that we all have very little time. We're busy people with busy lives, and we don't have time for a lot of excessive verbiage. The future becomes the place where I'm going to be satisfied, and I'm going to think about all sorts of ways that satisfaction is going to happen, but I'm never actually going to feel satisfied because I'm never going to reach that moment where in the now I'm able to enjoy. In the now I'm able to be happy. And This isn't about cutting back on activities. This isn't about cutting back on commitments or doing less work or taking more time off. It can be all those things, but it doesn't have to be those things. It has to do with an attitude. And the attitude for time deficit anxiety is a constant recognition that time is exactly what it is. We have a certain amount of time. Out of more complex physics discussions, we have a certain amount of time, and then we make a certain priorities, and we enjoy the process. We aren't working on our corrections if we're a school teacher, thinking about the next step. We aren't teaching, thinking about what's going to happen when we finish teaching. We try to start to enjoy the moment. And I think that enjoyment of the moment could be just as contagious as busyness has become, as the time deficit anxiety, the language we use about being busy. So I hope that there's some time this week for all of us to really let our hair down a bit and really enjoy what we're doing. Let people see that we are where we want to be. And it's a real gift to be here. Have a great, great week. Thanks so much for tuning in.
You and I are quite alike. You drove your car, baby. I brought my bike. You know that it is such a funny game when we pretend we're just the same.
When Betty Lynn hears that there's an organization that is paying respects and running vigils for animals that are going from factory farms and being transported down the 401 to slaughterhouses, she's so excited because she loves animals so much, and so she goes and she joins that group, and she becomes a real advocate for the rights of animals, the same way that people became advocates for the rights of women and the rights for minorities and the rights for homosexuals. Anyway, all people, though, of course. David is cooking up some nice meat for his family, and as he's doing it, he cheats a little bit. He gives a little piece to his dog, his dog Bingo, and because he loves his dog, they're doing the same thing.
It's the Billy Revolution. It's up to you. Billy Revolution. Here's what you gotta do. The Billy Revolution. A quadrilateral grow under your chin, not in the center though, 'cause it's the Billy Revolution. It's the Billy Revolution. It's the Billy Revolution. Billy Revolution.